On PM Express tonight, saving the city, exploring the minorities' alternatives to this. It's been one of the most talked about subjects. Threats of demonstrations. Impact has been felt across the board, and government has been reacting as well today. But the minority has held a press conference. We're going to be exploring the alternatives to saving the Ghana city. Now, the city is currently being exchanged, if you care to know, currently around 5.4. In fact, if you check some of the banks, you're trading it at 5.6. And it had fallen so dramatically. Just a few days ago, just last week, it was around 5.8 to the dollar. And we know that there has been some marginal gains since then. We'll tell you what government says is the reason for those marginal gains shortly. Government, we understand, according to the minority, on the back of the dramatic fall that we've seen, has stated that they must immediately present a fresh budget to Parliament to address some of they believe there's an emergency that requires that the budget that was submitted for 2019 be withdrawn and the fresh one presented to the House. They insist that the 2019 budget has been it's simply not credible anymore, and a change must happen. They also said that investor confidence in the local economy has waned. It's so low because of the currency troubles that we've seen, blaming the loss in value of the city on the poor leadership, mismanagement of the economy. They've even mentioned tonight, blaming the president and blaming the vice president as well, who is a chair of the economic management team, for mismanaging the economy as we've seen it. Also, we've also seen the minority claim today, predicting that the city will hit 6 cedis to the dollar by the end of the third quarter. In fact, they reference international research organizations like HSBC that had also made the same prediction. The minority believe that is where we're heading until something fundamentally change, including the suggestion of a new budget that will address these fundamentals and avert us reaching 6 cedis to the dollar later in the year. Now, the minority also insists that currently interventions are not sustainable. The government has put in some money. That's why we've seen some of the gains that we've seen over the last few hours. But the question about sustainability comes up. The minority believes it's not sustainable. Also, they've said, claimed by Dr. Bawumia, that he can fix this when he was in opposition, has been found out. In fact, the strong words they use, and as you can see there, is that Dr. Bawumia is in self-imposed exile. Is that really true? We're hearing from the office of the vice president. We'll try and interrogate what he plans to do in the next few days about this claim that he's imposed on himself. This is a self-imposed exile that he's been in after being so vocal in the lead up to the 2016 elections about matters such as the economy and the city. Now, government has been speaking today. So we had a minority press conference in the morning, and then the government reacted somewhere around 3 p.m. today with its own press conference dealing with the Eurobond issue, which was oversubscribed, and also talking about the city, addressing directly the minority concerns. And they dismissed the minority's predictions as far as the 6 cedi mark is concerned. They said that is a bit irresponsible and unpatriotic because of speculation can feed the further weakening of the city. They urging the minority to stop speculating on the matter and the performance of the Ghanaian city in the interest of the country, which is what the government had said. But the minority will fire back and say, and we've heard them already say this tonight, that, well, this current government in opposition did exactly the same. So what has changed? We'll be interrogating that shortly. It's the politics of the city depreciation, the exchange rate is what we'll be exploring tonight as well. Government also says that the 3 billion Eurobond that was floated has been oversubscribed, and that is an indication of a confidence as far as the investor community is concerned in this economy. That is government's fundamental reaction to this. They also say that the oversubscription of this is just an indication of the strength of this economy. But this is a fundamental question that we are asking tonight. Are current interventions that we've seen in the Ghanaian economy, the current interventions that we've seen by the current government and the marginal gains that we've witnessed, is it sustainable? And we'll be getting the minority's perspective to this. The man to do that, the man to help me do that, is none other than the former deputy finance minister. He's also the ranking member, spokesperson for the minority on finance issues, Kojo Oppong. Mr. Forson, it's been a hectic day for you, hasn't it been, after your press conference?
Very busy day.
And I'm grateful that you joined us after, you've been quiet a bit for a while. You just resurfaced, and this is the right time when the Cedi seems to be struggling, correct?
Thank you for having me. I think it's important that we digest this matter carefully, because what is happening in the economy isn't pleasant at all.
Okay, and that's exactly what we'll be doing, digesting the details when we return from this break. Here's Dr. Forson, my guest. Stay with us. Yes, Dr. Forson, my guest, is a former deputy finance minister. He is also the minority spokesperson on finance. He's in the studio with me after two press conferences we've seen today, his and that of government as well. Let's start from the top. The government did a press conference today. I want to quickly start with Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. Kojo Oppong Nkrumah responding to the currency depreciation questions that Mr. Forson and co had raised. Listen to the information minister.
The substance of their presentation today essentially is that the cedi has depreciated and that importers have taken a hit. Now, this is an already acknowledged point, and government has already been working to address the situation. The Bank of Ghana outlined its short-term measures, the finance minister outlined the medium-term measures, and today you are beginning to see a gradual recovery of the Ghanaian cedi. We expect that these recent efforts, in addition to efforts like the successful issuance, as well as some of the other medium-term items that have been outlined, will lead to an eventual reversal of the recent shocks that the currency has suffered. So the cedi is gradually making a comeback, and this minority attempts to take political jabs is a bit late in the day. Now, I've also been explaining to you the medium and long-term solutions, which for us give us the conviction that we will be able to hold our own when it comes to the Ghanaian currency. So I would like to encourage the Ghanaian populace and people who trade in our currency and other things the world over that don't pay attention to these speculations. Indeed, last year they made similar speculations that will go beyond 5 before the year was over. That wasn't occasioned. We were able to contain it. In the first quarter of this year, as a result of about 3 major things, we don't share that speculation. We think it's unhealthy, and we ask the minority to stop that in the name of Ghana, stop that in the interest of Ghana.
Mr. Forson, fundamentally, since last week when the cedi really dramatically took a big major hit, 5.8, 5.9 at some point, regarding where depending on where you look. Today is 5.6. In fact, if you check I just checked the Bloomberg portal before I came in, they are even quoting it as 5.2. The information minister in essence says, you say crisis? What crisis?
Thank you very much, Evans. Let me start by saying that I listened to the information minister speaking, and he made certain important pronouncements that the cedi is seeing some reversals. And he said that on the back of some medium-term items in the Eurobond issuance. How can a medium-term item have an impact on today's currency? Impossible. Because the medium term, you are yet to even implement the medium term outcomes or items where he's making reference to. So how can that have that impact? I don't know about those medium terms. The investor out there is not looking at that. That is not the reason why people are actually, we are seeing the capital reversals. That's not the reason. The reasons are there, and they are failing to respond to those concerns.
What are the reasons?
So I'll take you to the reasons.
Yeah.
First of all, number one, in the last the last monetary policy committee, the government decided to announce a reduction in the monetary policy rate by 100 basis points. This is contrary to the central bank's own findings. Because if you are to read the Monetary Policy Committee's report, it's like you've gone to court and the judge is coming out to the judgment. He pronounced you guilty, 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 almost all the lines. And finally he said that you are not guilty. What they were trying to say, and I have the quotations, and the quotations are there, various paragraphs, saying that they are risk, and for that matter, we should expect monetary policy rate to be increased, and sending all the signals. They concluded by saying that they've reduced the monetary policy rate by 100 basis points. In itself, it's populist, it's incompetent, and it's wrong mismanagement for the Central Bank's Monetary Policy Committee to come out with such an outcome, as if there's an unseen hand forcing them to do something contrary to their own findings. That is not acceptable.
You call into question the credibility of people who are very qualified.
And that's why I said that it's like you've gone to court.
They must have good reasons for doing what they did.
I don't think so. I don't think so. There are no good reasons. And Financial Times wrote an excellent piece on that, trying to compare Argentina's mistake to what Bank of Ghana has done. And they call it a mistake.
Yeah, you're not suggesting that the Bank of Ghana is not independent.
You see,
they're independent. This is the same institution. You were on the board of the Bank of Ghana.
I have a problem with the current Bank of Ghana for us to say it's independent or not.
You think they're not independent?
I don't think so.
Why?
No, you heard the deputy governor, the former deputy governor, saying that the finance minister asked him to resign. An independent central bank, you can't just remove a governor. Yeah, but there are ways to remove a governor.
They asked him to resign, doesn't mean he should.
No, they said he should go. He said they can't work with him. And he said, according to him, he said it here on one of your platforms.
Yeah,
he said the president says he can't work with him.
My point is, he has security of tenure. He has security of tenure.
But if they're not inviting you to meetings, they're not allowing you no paper, you go to sit in office and you don't get papers to work on, nothing comes. Do you think you can feel confident and work there? You cannot. If you have conscience, you have to leave. So he left. That cannot be seen as an independent.
So who is micromanaging the Bank of Ghana?
Well,
that's an allegation that there's no proof for.
But we see what is happening. If the finance minister or the president can instruct a deputy governor to leave office,
that's a claim that hasn't been proven, though.
But has anybody come to dispute that? I've not heard any response from government since then. And he said this 6 months ago. I've not heard a single statement coming from Central Bank or the government of Ghana to say otherwise. That's in itself.
So that's one reason you think the Cedi is going. Which other one is it?
The monetary policy rate that we are seeing, in the midst of a currency that is depreciating, non-resident investor who is buying your domestic bonds is trying to get value, obviously get some coupons out of the investment that is made. Now the investor is seeing something that you and I are not seeing, because they have done the analysis, they've looked at the net international reserves position, and it's coming down. And they expect central bank, instead of them, they expect the central bank to come out with a strong monetary policy stance and not a loose monetary policy. You now announce a loose monetary policy. What is the response? The response is that the investor would think that, yes, things are not good enough, so he has to repatriate. I had an opportunity to speak to an investor, I'm not going to mention the name. So that he exited the market and he decided to buy Ugandan bond. So these things are going on. These things are going on. People are exiting. We are seeing reversals of capital flows. And the depreciations that we are seeing so far is coming on the back of the current account.
And you make an important point about the capital flows. And in fact, in your statement, you said the depreciation of the cedi can be attributed primarily, and this is to your reason. In fact, you said primarily to portfolio outflows, into bracket, as foreign investors repatriate coupons and principals. That is an essential point. I don't think anybody can argue with you on this. However, until we change the fundamentals of the economy, I'm borrowing from Dr. Bawumia, this will continue. This economy is controlled by foreigners, we all know. But the essential point is this. It was true under your watch. It is true under this current government's watch. Question is, what did you do to address that challenge when you were there?
Evans, before I come to that question, let me first of all say that what we are saying today is self-inflicted.
Really?
Yes, self-inflicted.
But that problem has been there consistently under all governments.
You see, we have the
problems. If it's true,
there are problems with the current the balance of payment itself. But the balance of payment, we have two parts: the trade balance and the capital account. And the capital account is where we are seeing the problems, and the capital account is where we are seeing the reversals now, huge reversals, and that is where the problem is. And that is why I'm saying that the trade balance problems are still there. But nevertheless, we've managed it all this time, okay? With the inflows coming in and all of that, managing it slowly. You cannot resolve it overnight. But what you have to do is to signal policy credibility. What you have to do is be consistent with your fiscal policies. What you have to do is to make sure you have a good monetary policy in place, to give some assurance or some sort of assurances to the investor who is investing, so that those capital accounts, what do you call it, the outflows that we are seeing will not happen, in spite of the difficulties that may come, exogenous shocks that will come in. Unfortunately, apart from the monetary policy, loose monetary policy rate, and the fact that they have decided to announce a monetary policy that is not in sync with their own findings, they're also communicating inconsistent fiscal policy. And I'll give you an example. If you were to look at the budget statement carefully, the government announced a fiscal deficit of 4.2% of GDP.
Yeah.
Okay. The same government, after announcing 4.2% of GDP, has said, and they've announced that they are going to get GNPC, Ghana National Petroleum Company, to borrow an amount of $250 million for the purposes of expenditure at the Ministry of Energy. You know what that means? That cannot be treated as if it is not government transfers. And they said they are going to use oil revenue, what do you call it, mineral royalties, the royalties from the 10 fields and other fields as collateral, and pay that. That in itself, one, is against the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, Act 815. Two, you cannot treat that as if it's not part of the deficit. So as soon as Parliament approves that, the investor sitting out there, add it to the deficit. Transfers, 250 million. If you are to multiply it, you add it, 1.2 billion. Ghana cedis. Fiscal deficit, change. Another one. They're saying that they are going to go to the market and use mineral royalties and then use it for the purposes of collateral and borrow $200 million. So you are using future revenue flows for today's revenue. It's part of government revenue. You have to capture it in the fiscal. It is prepayment. It will add to your public debt. You have to treat it as expenditure, obviously. So what are you signaling? You cannot achieve the 4.2.
And you said that is also illegal.
It's a what?
You said that is also illegal.
It's illegal. It's illegal.
But you raised two fundamental points. If you're a member of parliament, if this is illegal, you have a recourse to fix it.
We're waiting for the government to come to the floor for the debate. They are yet to bring it. In fact, we are talking about it at the committee level.
Wasn't this part of the 2019 budget that you debated?
No, they were not part of the budget statement.
So, in what will trigger this to come to Parliament?
I'll give you, the GNPC have just submitted to Parliament their program of work, and this is in there, and they are asking Parliament to approve it.
Okay.
I've come out to say that I will resist.
True.
And I'm sure you've heard me
I've heard you say that. But if there's an illegality there, the only recourse I see there is the courts.
See, it is even unconstitutional, in the sense that it's only the minister responsible for finance who can perform the functions as a fiscal agent of government.
So why don't you test the law? Test the law. Why are you going to test the law?
We are looking at that. We are looking at that. There are options.
But that's the point.
First of all, we have to raise it in Parliament.
Yeah.
And then obviously, after if they fail to listen to us and push it through, then we can decide to go to Supreme Court.
Let's quickly return to the fundamentals of the reason why the city has been behaving the way it's behaved. And I want to return to one of your primary reason, which is the repatriation of principal, right, by investors. My question wasn't answered because it's important in terms of the collective governmental contribution to fixing the problem, because every government complains that is an issue. Every expert you speak to will cite rightly the primary reason being in fact, the reason why January, February is always a time that the city struggles is because the owners, the controllers of this economy just carry their monies and go. It was true then, it was true now. I'm just curious, what were your own interventions to deal with this?
So let me talk about two things. We have the seasonal or the normal January, February depreciation that you will see.
Yeah.
But if it's above equilibrium, it's a concern.
You think this current one is...
It's above equilibrium. And I read an article from Bloomberg saying that the last 10 weeks or 8 weeks depreciation is the worst in about 20-something years. The data is there to prove it. I read it on Bloomberg.
Yeah.
And let me say, one important point is the big multinationals will obviously repatriate their dividend.
True.
They are not here. They will, and oftentimes the central bank negotiate with them and they will stagger it over the period. So there's always some form of acceptability and acceptance on that. That should not lead to the depreciation that we are seeing. What we are seeing, and I've said that is self-inflicted, is because one, of government announcing inconsistent monetary policy.
You've mentioned that.
And I've also talked about the fact that the fiscal policy itself, they have announced in one breath they are talking of contractionary fiscal policy, but they are implementing an expansionary fiscal policy.
You've mentioned it as well.
And then number two, you've heard ministers of state saying that they are waiting for government to exit the IMF program, which of course they have, and then so that they go out there to spend money and borrow more and do these things. It doesn't send right signal. And I want to use this opportunity to caution the administration that yes, you've exited the IMF program, but please manage the conversation around it, because it's such a sensitive matter. It's worse than Brexit. Manage the conversation around it, because it will create uncertainty.
But investors disagree with you, and they've shown this with their money. 3 billion euro bond has just been oversubscribed. At a time when Ghana is preparing to leave the IMF program, you yourself mentioned that. So the investors, and you say in your press statement today that the market and investor confidence is very low.
Yeah.
That is, that is a clear, serious comeback at that allegation. The investors disagree with the minority. They trust this government. In spite of the fact they're leaving the IMF.
We have two different types of investors investing in our bonds. And there are two different types of bonds. We can lump the two together and draw a conclusion as if they're all the same. Let me give you one example. You have one group that buys foreign denominated Ghanaian securities in dollars, and another group that buys locally denominated or city denominated Ghanaian bonds. The risks are not the same. The risks are not the same. One virtually has no risk of foreign exchange. One has a huge risk as long as foreign exchange is concerned. One cares about the net international reserves position. One doesn't really care. One cares about the coupons coming in. Because the one that is actually investing in foreign currency or US dollars, he will get his money in dollars anyway, regardless of what happens to your local currency. Now, the one, because you are earning forex, and you know, if you come out with a good scheme saying that you are using oil revenues, that is forex, you set up sinking fund and use that to pay, just like we did. You convince the investor, because obviously that is what you are going to pay the person for. And he knows that at the end, he's going to get his coupons or the principal from the sinking fund, just like the Honorable Setepe did. And then this administration came in and managed to use 500 and something million US dollars for the purposes of paying the 2007 Eurobonds. They can do that. But me, or you, or someone who is a non-resident, he's brought in dollars, converted the dollars to buy Ghana Cedi bonds. If the Cedi depreciates, that person may even lose his capital depending on the extent. That person looks at those things. So please, let's know why.
You're saying that the only reason why the Eurobond was oversubscribed is because those foreign investors who are going to hold that foreign currency bond bear no risk?
I'm saying that I haven't said no risk. I'm saying as long as foreign exchange risks are concerned, they're different.
Yeah, but
they're different. You see,
but the fundamental reason why an investor will buy a country's bond is when they have a confidence in the managers of the economy. That's what you told us when your bonds were oversubscribed.
That's why I started by saying that we have two types of bonds.
I get it, but we're talking about this particular type of bond.
You agree with me that the two can never be the same.
I agree. I'm just talking about Eurobond. I'm not talking about locally denominated bonds.
So it depends on the structure you put across.
So but are you saying that you disagree that the oversubscription is an indication of investor confidence in the economy?
As long as the Ghanaian bond denominated in US dollars is concerned, the forex element okay, the cedi that is depreciating is not affecting that investor. That investor does not really care.
I can concede
He doesn't
that.
really care about that.
But that's not my question. My question is, are you saying that the oversubscription of the Eurobond is not an indication of investor confidence in this economy?
You see, it depends on the way you look at it. It depends on the way you look at it. You see, you look at a government that is saying they are going to, or an investor that is buying your bond, due in 12 years, or due in 7 years, or 15 years, and I'm interested in how you repay me. You tell me that I have some few oil fields coming on board. Those oil fields, I'm going to mob the revenue, which is in Forex, put it in the form of a sinking fund, and use it to repay me when the bullet payment is due. In the meantime, I have still oil revenue. It comes in the form of ABFE. I will use that money, I will spend that money in Ghana cedis, but I will be able to use the Forex equivalent and pay me. That is a good story. You will pay. You will buy it. But if, same person, I come in and I'm seeing a low monetary policy rate, that's not compensating me for the inflation or the depreciation of the currency, and I'm not getting value as I will get it in another country, I will leave. And at any time that I'm leaving,
but this Eurobond is not. But this Eurobond is not the second scenario you paint. This Eurobond is not the second scenario.
No, the second scenario. I mentioned the first scenario on the Eurobond. The second scenario is the local currency bond.
Yeah, but that's not the Eurobond. That's not Eurobond.
So I've talked about the Eurobond.
Yeah, but I'm saying that. But my fundamental, it's a very simple question. Really.
It's a simple question.
It's an indication. It's an indication of confidence in the economy, is it not? Because my question was based on your claim today that investor confidence is low. And people are flying. And Eurobond evidence shows that's contrary. That's not true.
Evans, if you look at, I disagree. If you look at what I put out, our claims are simple. We are talking of Ghanaians. And we are talking of investors who have invested in locally denominated bonds. They are flying out. I've never mentioned Eurobonds.
Okay.
So I'm telling you that there's investor confidence there is very low.
So this is a different category.
It's a different category of investors.
So this,
we cannot
you're talking about local and who are
investors.
Just
they're leaving. And I'm privy to an information. Someone called me and said, I'm leaving. I'm leaving because I'm not getting what I'm supposed to get. The coupons may be good, but because of the cedi depreciation, I'm losing even my principal. So I'm leaving, and the government doesn't have enough net international reserves to even give me when I'm going, and it shows that the situation is going to get worse. So they are leaving.
Okay.
And they're also seeing an announcement coming in on the back of the fiscal policy, expansionary, and it can only get worse. So the investor is worried. And that is why I'm telling government that what they have to do is to communicate with the investor, give them some assurance, come back to parliament, signal hope, let them be credible, and the investor will stay in the economy.
So we'll be exploring the alternatives that the minority has. But this point you just made about government coming to parliament to present another budget, it's really an unprecedented call, really, on the government to sort of, because they believe that the 2019 budget has lost its credibility. We'll be interrogating that. But they have 5 questions for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We'll focus on those 5 questions. And they say that Dr. Bawumia is in self-imposed exile. What exactly do they mean by that? Stay with us here on PMS. When we return, those questions will be answered. Live on PM Express still, my guest is a former Deputy Finance Minister, Kojo Forson. Mr. Forson, you focus quite substantially on the role of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who is the chair of the Economic Management Team. He's the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana. You ask him 5 questions, and I've just checked the questions. All the questions relate to, and I just want to read just a top line of it. why would an independent central bank with focus on price stability decide to reduce the monetary policy rate? Second question, why would an independent central bank with a focus on price stability decide to lower the policy rate? Third question, why would an independent central bank with focus on price stability decide to reduce the monetary policy rate in favor of a group? All the questions relate to the central bank.
Yes.
My question to you is, why should Bawumia be answering those questions? Why not the central bank governor?
Evans, you recall that this same Dr. Bawumia created the impression that the buck stops with the former chairman of the economic management team or the head of the economic management team.
That's
Emisata.
In fact, he asked him 100 and...
Yes. And if you look at the questions, most of them are on monetary and some on fiscal. Because, he's worked at the central bank, and Emisata also worked, the late Emisata also worked at the central bank. So clearly, he felt that he can ask him those questions relating to the monetary policy.
So this is what the goose for the goose is good for the Ghana.
Yes, obviously. We expect answers. In fact, this is just the beginning. In the coming days, we are going to pose more questions. The coming days, we are going to pose more questions on the happenings of the economy. And we expect him as the chairman of the economic management team or the head of the economic management team to come back and answer to.
But he can't answer for the central bank.
Why
because you'll be accusing him. You have already accused government
Yes.
of interfering
Yes.
in the central bank's activities. If he attempts to answer these questions, that is clear indication that he's taking the role of the job of the central bank governor.
Evans, you recall that the first 100 days of this administration, the vice president met the media.
At an event we organized.
And
I hosted as well, yes.
And he said, it wasn't said by the governor, he said he has arrested, or the government has arrested the Cedi, and the case given to the Inspector General of Police, the IGP. It wasn't the governor who arrested the Cedi. He arrested the Cedi. He said he has arrested the Cedi. So if you have arrested the Cedi, why are you doing these things? So we want him to answer the questions. We want him to answer the questions. These are questions that are very important. The investor community want to hear the answers, because those are the questions that will give confidence to the investor community, because they are contrary to the happenings at the central bank. And that's why I said that I strongly feel that from what is going on from the monetary policy rate and all of that, it looks as if the central bank is only interested in achieving a populist agenda. To say that, yes, we brought the monetary policy down to X amount, in spite of the risk, because people are taking their money out, their foreign exchange risk and all of that. In spite of that, we've done well, we have brought the monetary policy rate down. But what is the implication? What is the implication? The implication is what we are seeing today.
When you say that the vice president has gone into self-imposed exile, what does that mean?
I've not heard him talk about economy for a very long time. If you are to hear...
He's busy with other things.
Like, I've heard him talk about, a colleague of mine today called him a computer man. He's now into IT, he speaks a lot about IT. I don't know if the...
But managing the economy is not about talking, it's about doing. He's doing. He's doing.
Doing what?
Managing the economy.
What is he managing? you see, so he's managing the economy, and we are getting Cedi depreciated by that magnitude in the first...
He's managing, that's why you've seen the gains the Cedi has made in the last 2 days.
Oh, really? What gains? I don't see any gain. Any significant. No. I don't see
marginal
that.
Gains. So the information is called a marginal gain.
Yesterday, at the time I was putting together the press statement around 3 p.m. I checked with Commercial Bank, a very respectable, for the largest bank in Ghana, and checked with another private bank, the Fidelity Bank. I looked at their rate. Cedi is selling about 5.65 and 5.6. Okay. This morning, we also checked with, what do you call it, ADB. It's selling around 5.6. So when I hear someone talking about 5.2, I don't see where the 5.2 is coming from, because that is not what it is.
Well, I checked the Bloomberg portal.
Okay, that's their portal. The Bloomberg, they have a structure.
Yeah, they put a 5.2.
Always compare everything and then put it central bank. You see, the central bank will report a number. Oftentimes what happens, and this is proven, oftentimes what happens is that when the interbank announce, let's say 5.65, and the central bank is, let's say, at 5, for argument's sake, within a matter of weeks, the central bank get to where the interbank position is. it shouldn't be that big. The arbitrage or the gap should not be that big. Central bank will move there gradually, and that is where we have a problem. And that is why I use that as an analysis, because you will clearly, very soon, the central bank will move there gradually and get to 5.65. There was a day I was checking the central bank website to check to find out the exchange rate. There was nothing like that. It was blank. Blank. Obviously, there was something wrong. Something very wrong. I've never seen anything like that.
You really question the credibility of the central bank.
But how come a central bank, a whole central bank, if you are to check their website and find out?
I mean, there could be a host of reasons, a technical fault.
Have they come out to explain that?
Well, I don't know.
Disclaimer, something there. Something is important.
I don't know.
Managing information is so important.
In an economy.
So important.
No, but
in an economy as fragile as ours.
But you make that point, and yet government accuse you of speculating, and that speculation is such an important weapon that can destabilize an economy such as ours. In fact, the reason why the cedi will depreciate if you speculate. Government accuses you of doing just that against the interest of the country. You talk about managing information. You're speculating about the cedi. You're saying it's going to hit 6 cities.
I've been very patriotic. I'm a very patriotic.
Government says that's not true.
And I tell you something. Have you heard me make any pronouncement on the cedi depreciation? No, this is the first time.
True.
Because where it's going, if I do not come in and ask this administration to change its path and policies, we're all going to suffer, and that's why I'm here. I'm not like the former running mate and now the vice president, Dr. Bawumia. There are times that we're going for Eurobonds. He criticized us, destroyed the government, come out with issues to the extent that we will not get right rate. Have you ever heard me do that? I'm a patriotic Ghanaian. I wouldn't do that. But you see, and you've heard him so many occasions, so many times, talking down the Ghanaian economy.
But isn't that what 16. You're doing? Is that what you're doing?
I'm not.
You today said the cedi will hit 6.3 cities.
And it's not based on my own analysis.
If I'm an investor, I could act based on what you've said, because you've been there before, and I think you know what you're doing. Yes.
I've seen a number of, let me put it this way, research findings. One from Bloomberg, I've seen one from various banks, HSBC, StanChart, a number of them. I looked at the quality of the writings. Okay. There's one particular one that I'm interested in, and I think they convinced me with their projections. And what somebody even said, it will hit about 6 point something.
6.3.
Someone said, no, 6.3 is HSBC.
HSBC, yes.
HSBC Global. I intend to agree with HSBC Global on a number of reasons. One, whoever wrote that piece seems to have extensive knowledge as long as Ghanaian economy is concerned, because he's actually brought on board the improvement as long as some liquidity is concerned. Borrowings, US dollar, Eurobond coming in, borrowings on the back of cocoa and all of that, and then look at the trend and brought in the seasonalities and said that there are times that you have bad times and good times, and then he concluded by saying that first, by the end of second quarter, we should expect the cedi to hit about 5.9. By the end of third quarter, we should see the cedi to hit about 6.0, and we'll end the year with the cedi 6.3 per dollars. And I said, I intend to agree with them. Whoever wrote that piece is coming from a credible institution, good piece, good write-up, and excellent. And I perfectly agree with the person. And that is my projections.
The government says...
I never wrote that.
I guess
HSBC Global, and it's out there already.
But you believe that will happen?
Oh, of course. I strongly believe it.
No, but that's government's accusation against you. If you're so patriotic, you should express a different view to that.
So if I'm patriotic, I shouldn't talk. I should not agree to something that I strongly feel that is the case. So patriotism does not mean silence. It means talk against something that you think is wrong and point the government in the right direction. And that is exactly what I'm doing.
There's something you said about Bawumia, and quickly on Bawumia, this is a final thing, and I'll move on. You say his misleading claims about the economy while in opposition and the propaganda-leading lectures organized to convey the impression of some exceptional knowledge about economic management on his part have combined to expose him to public ridicule in the wake of the disastrous fall in the value of the cedi. The many things Dr. Bawumia said when he was the running mate that came to pass, not misleading at all. He predicted your government will turn to the IMF. You fought him on that. Eventually you did. He predicted your cedi under you will perform terribly. At the point you admit, your cedi under your watch was one of the worst performing currencies in the world. That was true. Bawumia had said that. He said you needed policy credibility. When you turned to the IMF, you told us it wasn't a bailout, you went for policy credibility. All that Dr. Bawumia predicted and came to pass. How can a misleading man be such a prophet?
So why doesn't he predict about what is happening in the economy now if he's such a wonderful prophet? Prophet of the country, economic prophet. Why is he not predicting to all of us what is happening in the economy? He's the vice president. He's the chairman of the economic management team. He's such a wonderful prophet. The city is sliding and he's failed to keep quiet and he's going on self-imposed exile. And you think that is a good prophet?
By the way,
that's not a good prophet.
Today they put out adverts.
Yes.
He is going to be answering your questions.
Okay.
In fact, he's going to take questions in a town hall on the 3rd of March.
Interesting.
So he's not hiding.
So he's finally coming out. Finally, and touch wood. I'm happy he's out, and we'll monitor that event, and we'll certainly come out with our own views on those events as well. Because I think I've looked at the flyer myself. I've seen it. He's going to talk.
You're excited about it?
Yes. I'm yet to see the content, but the caption is interesting. So we are waiting. But let me only caution him that he should not even expose himself the more.
Why?
Because clearly,
you've asked the question.
What is he going to talk about?
You've asked the question.
Oh, no. I'm happy he's going to answer the questions.
So yeah.
But I'm only saying that he should not expose himself the more, because there are more things. Knowing him, he will talk, and they will be there to hound him in future.
Let's look at the alternative that you propose. So, what is your prescription for fixing the problem? Because you say you're so patriotic, or the only thing you care about is reversing the trend. What is your prescription for fixing this?
A number of things. You see, you have the short-term measure, what they have to do now.
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
What they have to do now, one, is to come back to Parliament.
With a budget?
With a new budget.
Isn't that what the budget review is for? It's a moot point, isn't it? Because budget review will come anyway.
No, we cannot wait till that time.
When? That's May. That's June.
No, we cannot.
It comes in June.
You see, that you are.
Is there a fixed time for the review?
You are, by June.
Yes,
you are
what,
discounting that.
But the June is just two months away.
The situation is more serious than the way we say it.
It doesn't take a day to do a budget, to put together a budget. You know that. You're from people, you were there, you know that.
And that is why we're saying that if you can't come out with a budget, you should come out with a statement to Parliament.
Okay.
And we said that. Budget or a statement to Parliament at the minimum.
Okay.
If for any reason they can come out with a budget. Signaling confidence to the investor community, particularly the foreigners who are investing in our bonds. They've lost confidence. You have to signal confidence. Let me tell you one thing.
Foreigners investing in locally
denominated currency. Okay. So I'll give you an example. In your budget statement, you have said that you are going to spend X amount of money for the purposes of paying for debt or debt servicing, which include amortization and interest payment. Now, because of the depreciation of the currency, you will need more money to do that. It means more expenditure. How do you fund it? Fiscal deficit going to go up, or you are going to cut certain expenditure? The investor want to know. In your budget statement, you have said you are going to draw down on certain loans that you have already secured, and you call it capital expenditure foreign financed. In itself, you are going to bring in that money for the purposes of expenditure. So if you are to draw down $1 billion US, in the budget, your assumption, the dollar to the cedi was 4.8. Today we are hitting in excess of that. What used to be, let's say, 4.8 billion, today we are talking of 5.6 billion. Additional expenditure close to $1 billion. How are you going to fund it? Fiscal deficit going to go up, or what is going to happen? The investor want to know. And many other things, like subscriptions.
So that's the first alternative.
Those are the alternatives.
In the short term.
And then, in the domestic economy, the local economy, there are businesses that are actually suffering on the back of importers are complaining. As a result of that, their cost of doing businesses are going up. Now you've come out with growth projections. These are the same businesses that are going to contribute to the economic growth on some rare sector. Now, because of what is happening, their businesses are going down, and you may not end up getting the growth numbers. So you also have to make those adjustments and give hope what you are going to do to restore all of that.
You said they should scrap.
And then I'm saying that on the back of that, to give some relief to the business community, scrap the special import levy, because it was supposed to be out already. The MPP in their manifesto promised us, Ghanaians, that when they are to come to office, they are going to remove the special import levy. They came back and extended it for 2 more years, ending 2019. I hope and pray that even this year, by end of year 2019, they will remove it. But they don't even have to wait till that. Until then, they have to remove it now, because the investor, the ordinary importer, is struggling on the back of that. 2%. It's a lot of money. 2%.
So you think these 2 short-term measures will reverse the control slide of the city?
I'm saying that, you see, the first one, the short.
But the second one is relief.
The second one is relief to the ordinary Ghanaian business, because that one is going to support their businesses going forward. But the first one is to come to Parliament.
That goes to the heart of addressing the city.
That goes to the heart of addressing the capital reversals.
Okay.
That goes to the heart. So you take the problems and deal with it. And not only that, they have signaled policy inconsistency. GetFund is going to borrow $1.5 billion US. How much are they borrowing? Is it going to go into the fiscal? How are you doing it? You did the budget, but you failed to talk about it.
Okay.
All of that. You've given guarantee to GAT, but $2 billion. How are you doing?
Will you not give,
all of this?
Will you not, at least in the short term, though, at least in the last few days, we've seen some gains the city making. They're doing something. You must give them some credit.
Borrowings, and let me take you back to what Dr. Bawumia said on the 4th of August 2014. We went out there to bring for Eurobonds, and we brought the proceeds. He said it will solve the problem. It will solve the problem. Let me.
So this is not sustainable.
He said it. Let me tell you. It provides you liquidity, but it doesn't go to solve the fundamentals, the problems that we are seeing.
So the fundamentals are.
You see. So he said, if the economy is not good,
the fundamentals.
If
the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you.
Excellent. An excellent quote from him, and is going to follow him till he left office.
I'm grateful, Case out of Forson, my guest in the studio. That's it for PM Express tonight. I want you to enjoy the rest of your evening. We are back next week, Monday.